Plus, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is the animated reboot of the live-action family movie of the same name, as well as based on the original 2007 book. Being one of the shortest Disney animated features in the studio's history, it's still a fun and endearing story about something that we can all relate to: entering middle school, and being centered around such an intense time in any kid's life. It's a perfect story to explore morality in the context of childhood. Today, we're going to figure out who the best and worst characters are. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is Diary of a Wimpy Kid characters, good to evil. Now, a quick note, this story focuses on the world through the lens of a kid just starting his journey in middle school, so we aren't dealing with the most extreme moral decisions. Still, the stakes are high. I mean, the cheese threat is very real. But we'll be weighing our rankings contextually based on the fact that most of the characters are kids. With that out of the way, as usual, we'll be starting with the most good and noble character and working our way down to the most evil. These characters are the good. Now, first up, it's no surprise that the character who earns the gold medal of good is Rowley. Really, his character is about as good-natured as you can get. He's pretty much a lovable dork who is completely comfortable with who he is. He may go along with Greg's plans to try to become popular and change himself based on what others may think of him, but he's clearly doing so to make his friend happy. Really, if there is anything to criticize Rowley for, it's that he is a pushover, and that he should do more to stand up for himself when ordered around by Greg. He doesn't care if the things he likes seem childish, whether it's the games he plays or his Halloween costume.
I thought we said we were being invisible.
Honestly, the world would probably be a lot more of a pleasant place if more people were like Rowley, not so concerned about what others think, and also non-judgmental himself. Rowley is idealistic and seems to respect what his parents say. I suppose he did sort of plagiarize his friend's comic phrase, but he didn't seem to understand why that may be an issue, so we really can't hold it against him. We're giving the silver medal of good to Manny. At first, we wanted to avoid ranking him at the top of our list, just because it's easy to rank any baby or toddler character high just based on their innocence. But come on, when he gave that full-size candy bar to his mean and neglectful older brother, nobody could deny that this is a good kid. Rounding out the good section, which is surprisingly short, are Frank and Susan Heffley, Greg's parents. They aren't the most in-depth characters on the show, but they're both pretty clearly good. They care about their family and are good parents. Specifically Susan, who makes it a point to take Greg aside and explain to him how messed up it was to force his friend to lie about being hurt.
I'm trying to raise a good kid.
I suppose the negatives for these two are Susan's overbearing nature. She does seem to be a bit too overprotective, and Frank's neuroticism. But both of them do seem to have the best intentions. With the good characters out of the way, we now move into neutral territory. These characters fall in the gray area. First up, we have Roderick. We're actually going to cut Greg's older brother Roderick some slack. No, he doesn't really seem like the nicest older brother, but that's kind of a common thing for older brothers. They like to mess with you. And yes, he does try to scare Greg a bit about middle school, practically talking about it like he's preparing him for his first day in prison. But we feel his intentions may not be the worst. He seems to really believe that the concerns he brings up are valid. And although he talks poorly about Rowley, reinforcing the idea that he's a baby,
you don't need some overgrown baby weighing you down.
One could argue he's trying to protect his brother from being bullied, in his own warped sort of way. Next, we have Fregley. This kid kind of represents the perfect gray area, a chaotic neutral.
Wanna come inside my house for a play date?
Nothing he does is moral or immoral, he just sort of exists in a state of constant weirdness, and that weirdness doesn't speak to his morality one way or another. Still, a very strange kid to say the least. Now, rounding out our gray area, we're placing Greg Heffley. And to be honest, if he didn't make the ultimate cheese sacrifice at the end of the movie, Greg would have definitely landed squarely in the bad section. Greg is very narcissistic. He's only concerned with his own status in school and doesn't seem to have an issue throwing his own friend under the bus if it will result in him getting ahead. It's actually very off-putting. Even in the intro of the movie, he talks about his friend as if Rowley is beneath him. And he even says that he only hangs around with Rowley in the meantime until he's famous one day. Not a good way to talk about your friends.
I doubt he's ever gonna be rich and famous, but it's good to have him around for laughs.
He's definitely a user in that regard. Greg is also clearly very insecure, and those insecurities seem to drive many of his immoral decisions. After coming up with the candy trick-or-treating scam, he pushes his friend to come with him through Snake Road despite the fact that he's scared. He also scoffs at the idea that Rowley has to join school clubs to make friends, and instead says he needs to come up with a plan to get what he wants quickly. So he demonstrates quite a bit of laziness here as well. His worst action is hurting his friend physically, albeit by accident, and then pressuring him to lie about it to cover it up.
Just say you were playing tag and that you tripped on the curb.
Then, when he gets a cast, he actually credits himself as the reason everyone starts to like Rowley after signing the cast, trying to spin his bad deed into a good one. This is actually pretty deep narcissistic behavior that would actually be pretty concerning to see in real life. With that said, we will credit Greg for coming around in the end. He sacrifices himself, so to speak, by taking the blame for the cheese biting, which is quite the heroic act in the context of this story. So it is nice to see the two friends come together in the end. Is Greg totally redeemed? Probably not. It seems like his behavior will continue at least a bit, but at least he improved himself enough in the end to get out of the bad section. And finally, we reach the dark side. These characters are the bad and the evil. First up, we have the librarian. We actually don't see this character in the movie, but we had to add them to the bad section. Taking Greg's comic and censoring it by changing all of the words before publishing it without his knowledge or permission is pretty terrible, especially since what it was changed to got him bullied and ridiculed. Not cool. Our silver medal of evil goes to the bully. Not the most screen time, but also worth noting. Sure, Greg may have accidentally bumped into him with his lunch tray in the cafeteria, but that doesn't warrant this giant kid clocking him in the face for it. And finally, we have to give our gold medal of evil to the teenagers. In all seriousness, these are probably the most cliché kid movie villains, straight out of the 80s bully movie trope. But these kids are pretty psychotic. These kids are in high school, old enough to drive, and they're out